What if I told you that one of the most important skills you have as a leader is the ability to say no? Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk about this. This is one of those lessons that's kind of counterintuitive to what we do. We're always out there being a leader and working hard with our youth and being that mentor and all that kind of stuff. And then we're asked to do something and we are torn because we always say yes, and that's bad. Okay, you can't always say yes. There are times when it's necessary to decline, be tactful, being all that scouting is. But it hurts because we believe in our scout law, and the scout law is helpful and courteous and kind, and nowhere in there does it say we're an automatic yes. Okay, so have to think of it more deeply than you might have thought of it ever before. There might be a common belief that no one is willing to step up for any kind of task or duty. Well, that's not always true, and you have to think more deeply about it. There are times that you might feel conflicted because you want to help, but you can't because your attention is elsewhere. You have other duties that you've already said yes to. So this is a big thing that a lot of scout leaders can't say no. A lot of scout leaders are so committed that they just can't find themselves saying no. And that's how we get a lot of people saying yes to things they can't possibly fit in a realistic schedule. So it's so important that you stay within what you can do, what you can dedicate as far as time. That is a huge lesson for a lot of scout leaders. The cost of never saying no. Burnout. That's one of the very first ones. Burnout is real, and a lot of scout leaders achieve that rather quickly because they keep saying yes. So keep this in mind. If you have a chance, check out the video right up there. That video is on preventing burnout and using the rule of 5. There are 5 things you need to think about. And using that video can help prevent feeling guilty about saying no. And it will actually help you dedicate better time to those 5 things that are important. So definitely check out that video. When you say yes to everything, you're robbing the opportunity for another scout leader that may want to and have the ability to do a job or to do a task. This is something that a lot of individuals that are trying to recruit people for different tasks, different committees, and so on, they kind of focus in on those people who can't say no. So don't say yes to everything because you're robbing that opportunity from those who could do the job better. By saying yes all the time, this could actually weaken your youth leadership. So you have to keep in mind there's a difference between the adults who are being asked to do a task or a role, and then there's the same thing for the youth. Don't do what the youth are supposed to be doing. You're taking those opportunities, those learning opportunities away from them. So that's another big thing that saying yes all the time will get you in trouble. And speaking of being in trouble, you need to think about family, okay? Family is a critical part of life. And you got to make sure in those 5 things that you're not neglecting that. And your family will remind you, maybe you should say no every now and then. Hey, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you know that you're personally invited to come and attend the Campfire Chat. We have a brand new one every first Sunday starting at 9 p.m. And you're welcome to join the chat room and ask questions and really get involved. Also want to thank all of the Patreon supporters of this channel. We also have a membership right here on this channel. So definitely hit the join button to get more information about joining us in supporting the ScouterStan channel. And in that, let's take a look at all of our supporters. When should a scout leader say no? Very basically, when it's not your job. If you're a scoutmaster, you cannot be the committee chair in addition. That is a very hard thing for a lot of units. Now, I know that there's some units that have 3 people that do 3 different jobs. They need to not do that. They need to be in those teams, and they need to break out and make sure that they're not overburdened by additional tasks. So keep in mind, if you're the scout master or the cub master or any of those positions for the adults, make sure that you're doing the appropriate thing for that position. It's just simple. Those are big jobs, and they need to be handled that way. Same thing with the committee. The committee chair should not also be the advancement chair or the treasurer or so on. There's so many things that need to be departmentalized. So it's not overwhelming for one individual. Believe me, if you're burning your scout leaders out, you're not going to have a unit for very long. Scout leaders should say no whenever the job can be done by a youth. If it's a youth position, it doesn't matter what the position is, whether it's quartermaster or treasurer or any position, scribe. Those should be youth positions exclusively. Don't take on the responsibility. Now, you could be the mentor for that scout to help them do that. But try to keep that to a minimum too. You can't have too many. You're going to have a problem. So you have to say no if it has anything to do with a youth position. Now, there's only one exception. If that position is temporarily, real, like a day, left open, you might be able to handle some questions. But that's it. You're not taking on that role, Just keep that in mind. Scout leaders should say no if they're lacking the time or even the energy. Oh my gosh, there's some positions that literally pull the energy right out of an adult. It's a big ask, and it's important that you don't overburden. If you're one of those leaders that's going to start assigning things and stuff like that, don't overburden your staff, your help. Make sure that it's within the scope of the time of what they can do. The worst thing to do would be as a committee chair, to have somebody try to get a scoutmaster, and you know that in 3 months they're going to be gone. They're shipping out. They're going somewhere. That can be very time intensive. And believe me, a scoutmaster position is huge. Assistant scoutmaster is huge. All of the positions in scouting can be huge in time derived. So you got to make sure that you're balancing everything. That balance is critical. Otherwise, you're going to have burnout. Another place to say no would be if the request is not part of the program. You have to stay focused on what you are doing, what you plan to achieve, your goal. You have to stay focused on that. And if some other things come in, you just can't say yes to them. You have to be like, no, please, I have to focus in on this. And that's the thing. Stay within the program and you'll be much better for it. How to say no. It is crazy, but a lot of adults have no idea how they can not say yes. It happens. It's important that you use phrases that kind of defer the no. All right? The no is there. And these are phrases that you might want to consider. One of the big ones is, I'm not able to take that on at this time. That's huge. It's a no, but it's basic on you have to have conditions. And those conditions have to be met. If they're not, then you can't say yes. That's what you're saying in communications. That's at communications where they receive the information and they repeat what you just said and so on. So that it's clear. You're not saying that on 3 weeks from now I'm going to take that job on. No. That's the key. You have to be clear. Thank you for asking, but I cannot commit to that time frame. That's a way of saying no. You've raised the objection, and you just can't dedicate the time from what you're doing now. So keeping in mind that you got to stay focused. Your goal is to do a great committee meeting, okay? Not treasury stuff or advancement stuff in addition. You gotta keep those things departmentalized so that your focus can be on the meeting that you're running. That's one of those things. You have to know your time set and what you can do. Have you considered asking someone else? Now this is a two-parter. When you say something like that, usually the person that's asking you knows you. And they think that you would be perfect for that position that they want you to take on, in addition to what you're doing. So you have to tell them, so you need to be thinking of other people. I am full, okay? I got the jobs that I want to do, and I'm trying to stay focused on that. So that's the thing that you need to be thinking of. So keep that in mind. Yes, they need to be considering other people. And that's twofold, because when they do the communications thing and they repeat it back to you, they're going to ask you in that, who else? And then therefore you can say, well, this person, that mom and dad they're not really involved and they got time. Perfect. So you have to be able to negotiate the no. The leadership lesson here is to say no more often. Every time you say no, you're giving an opportunity for someone else who needs to say yes. That's the big thing. You have to think a big picture. If you can just stay focused on what you're doing, that's the important part. Don't just arbitrarily say no. Ask them questions. What is the commitment? What is the timing? What do I need to bring to that you asked me to take on? Those are legitimate questions. If they're going to ask you, then you should be able to ask them questions and have conditions too. You can easily say, well, I can do it for 6 months. Something like that. If you can. Sometimes you can't. You don't have any time for that. You're too busy with 3 other things that you've sort of said yes to, and you need to recruit somebody to say yes. So it's a big life lesson. There's a lot to that. Scout leaders do tend to say yes a lot, and it's usually the same 3 or 4 that are in your unit. Don't abuse them. They are going to burn out, and you will need more, and you can't keep doing that. That's not good. It's not courteous. So definitely expand your leadership, but do it in the right way. Find people who can commit to a small amount of time. We're talking little chunks maybe for an adult leader that just happens to be surfing their phone in the back, okay, at the youth meeting. Maybe they could take on something with advancement. You don't have to, because you're already doing 3 other things. So you got to not say yes to everything. You need to say no, or not now, or any of those phrases that are there. You need to communicate. You need to think about what they're asking. Ask them to be clear. So definitely think about that. Thank you so much for listening to me, and you didn't say no. You clicked on it. That's good. That's wonderful, and I'm so grateful for you and all that you do in scouting. Please keep up that good hard work. We are building a better America, one scout at a time. Always remember that. And a big part of this whole thing, scouting in general, the biggest part is communications. Being able to communicate in any form. That is so important. And it's one of those overlooked scouting skills that all adult leaders should have. So if you get a chance, check out that playlist of the 2 episodes. They're kind of long, but fast forward through them. Till next time, I'll see you on the trail.